Do you have what you need materially and spiritually? The potential for being sensitive to the needs of others, or being oversensitive or insensitive? Is it time to step back and process an experience that you've been through? These are all pressures, qualities, and questions that this cycle of the Human Design Weather for January 27th to February 1st, 2026 bring. Hello, and welcome to the Human Design Weather or Not podcast with me, Margot Fraser. Great to have you here. Last cycle, we kicked off the Human Design New Year, and I did a bit of an extended section in that podcast as the New Year's chart does set the foundation for what's going to play out this year. So if you missed it, you may want to go back and listen to that. I talked about it in the long-term transit part of that podcast. Also, I'm going to offer a live Zoom call on this Friday, January 29th, to give an overview of the background global frequency change that's going to be happening in February of 2027. Explains a lot about the chaos going on in the world right now. We've been in the frequency that we have now, the background frequency, since 1615. It's a long time, and we're going to move to something completely new. I was hoping to have the registration form up today, but I'm having a bit of a tech issue on the back end of my site. So fingers crossed that I will get that out tomorrow, but as soon as I can, I'll post that. There is going to be a small registration fee for that of $27, but I'm also going to make it a pay what you want from $7 to $27, as I know financial resources are strained for some. So hopefully that will allow anyone who wants to attend to do so. So it's going to be Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. GMT. That'll be Saturday at 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time and 10 a.m. New Zealand Daylight Time. So I'll post an announcement here when the registration is ready. And if you're on my email list, you'll receive an email about it. All right, let's dive into this cycle. It begins on January 27th at 6:39 a.m., going until February 1st at 7:38 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Universal time coordinates, that's coming in January 27th at 1:39 p.m., going until February 2nd at 2:38 a.m. Remember to convert that to your own time zone so you know when it starts and ends for you. We always start with the Sun Earth activations as that 70% of the conditioning field. We have the Sun moving into gate 19, activating the trait of wanting in the root center, which is the bottom square on the chart. The root center is a motor and a pressure center that brings that adrenalized drive. Gate 19 is tribal, which has a fundamental theme of mutual support. Its keynote says that all things are interrelated, is apparent and manifested through the action of approach. The tribe is inherently relational, and this trait brings the fuel for support, for you to support others and to be supported, and to approach others to give or get that support. Its pressure is going to bring a sensitivity to what you need and to what others need in your family, in your community, in groups that you belong to. It can also be oversensitive, particularly to a lack of resources, or the polarity of insensitivity to the needs of others can also be there. This pressure provides an opportunity to really look at your resources. Do you have what you need materially and spiritually? Where you have abundance, how do you want to invest that? Where you don't have what you need, who or what might be able to support you? There's also a discernment needed here to understand the difference between dependency, where that support turns into you being dependent on another, or another being dependent on you, and interdependency, supporting each other. through each person bringing their gifts to the table, so to speak, and being able to fulfill a need that the other has, while receiving the fulfillment of a need that you have. Person A might be really good at making an income. Person B might be really good at doing the accounting of income versus expensive. Another person might be really good at finding the best bargains. And another one might be really good at finding the best investments. It all comes together into a beautiful harmony. The tribal traits have a very strong theme of correct bargains. Is there any place you're leaking energy, leaking resources, leaking time? If something seems off or unfair, take a bit of time to be with that. What's that about and what needs to be adjusted there? This trait is not, though, in an awareness center. So it will take time to get clear on what the true needs are. If you don't have the resources you need, you could be hypersensitive to that, in particular, this cycle. There might be more agitation and restlessness around that. You might feel an amplified sense of not being supported. It's really important to watch that you don't enter into bargains to get what you need that are not actually correct for you. This is adrenalized pressure, right? So coming out of that route, it could have you jumping into things too quickly without getting clarity first. It's key that you don't give up who you are as an individual to get what you need. But that shadow mind, that not self mind, could certainly jump in there and have you doing so out of the pressure. The ideal is about each person in the community contributing to the resources so that everyone has what they need. Everyone is empowered. You might find that you really like to have a full fridge this cycle, or always if you have this trait in your own design. It's kind of a symbol of having what you need, opening that fridge door and, yeah, it's full. All is well. Okay. This is also a trait that enjoys touch. So, cuddling, hugging, or there could be that reacting adversely to something by don't touch me, right? That could be amplified this cycle as well. Note that at the start of this cycle, we have Mercury also in gate 19 until January 28th at 3:56 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's going to bring a conditioned pressure to talk about needs and wants. And Venus is also sitting in gate 19 just until the 27th at 6:47 p.m. Mountain Time. And that's going to bring a quality of valuing your needs and wanting your needs to be valued. Gate 19 is being grounded in the Earth's position, gate 33 in the throat center. This is the trait of privacy and retreat. The throat center is that uppermost square in the chart and is the center for communication, expression, and manifestation. Gate 33 is part of the collective abstract circuitry that's all about sharing the lessons and wisdom of our experiences. This is a gate that's part of our cellular memory circuitry, and there can be real revelations that come through it. When you get to the throat, you get to the end of a process. And here it's the end of an experiential cycle that you had committed yourself to. This trait is about taking the time to retreat after an experience, to go within and reflect on the lessons and the wisdom. Wisdom that you've taken in from your own experiences, but also what you've taken in from listening to others. Its keynote says active withdrawal and the transformation of a weak position into a strength. The weak position is that without withdrawing into retreat and that reflection, you don't get the wisdom, you don't get the lessons, and that takes some time. And if you don't get the wisdom, chances are you're going to end up repeating a similar experience. It's going to feel like you're stuck in a loop. Meanwhile, the experiential circuitry ultimately never wants to repeat an experience. Been there, done that. This is the voice of I remember, or I don't remember. Sharing experiences means that each generation doesn't have to start from scratch. This is the voice of the historian, remembering what happened in the past so that it can be used to navigate the future. You may find yourself this cycle reminiscing about the past or hearing this from others. You might find yourself wanting to retreat and just taking some processing time. And it's not about avoidance. This is about allowing time to get clear on what wants to emerge. Now, the polarity of not retreating and jumping right into another experience before you've processed the previous one can also play out here. When it's time to share those lessons and wisdom, remember to wait to be invited and follow your strategy and authority so that it's to the right people at the right time. When we look at the Sun Earth positions together, reminiscing may be a way that fosters that camaraderie and mutual support. You might find yourself retreating when someone's asking for support or resources. There may be lessons and wisdom shared about past codependent relationships or supportive relationships that can be used to enhance mutual support in the present. Okay, let's look at our channels now. A reminder that when the transit field creates a channel, everyone that doesn't already have it in their own body graph is receiving activation of the related traits and qualities. So it has a big impact that way. We have our long-term channel that came in December 22nd and will be with us until May 13th. This is that long-term transit with the nodes of the moon, creating the channel of community, a design of a part seeking a whole. This is part of the same tribal stream of need that our sun's position, gate 19, fuels. So also carries that theme of mutual support. The North Node is sitting in gate 37, the trait of friendship and family. It's like the glue of the community. And the South Node is in gate 40, the trait of deliverance and aloneness. As the channel of the marriage contract and agreements generally, it's going to put an emphasis on fairness in relationships. Expect to experience and see themes of loyalty and betrayal, jealousy and friendship, possessiveness and generosity, negotiation of contracts, and breakdown of agreements, whether that's in marriage, in business, communities, whatever it might be. It can bring a feeling of being taken advantage of or of feeling supported. There'll be more pressure to come together in community, to come together in family. And that can create a sense of a lack of belonging, right? This is the design of a part seeking a whole. So if you're not feeling that sense of coming together with family, you don't feel like you're accepted or you don't feel like you belong in a certain community, that can come in as well. So this kind of theme of belonging or feeling of not belonging. Now, this is an emotional channel. And there can be explosive emotional outbursts here. This is an emotional wave that ratchets up over time and then can explode out, especially if you feel like you're on the losing end of an agreement or a contract or a bargain and seem to be doing more than others. We have heightened willpower and heightened emotionality while this channel is present. So it's going to bring a general pushiness and greater highs and lows of emotionality in the collective field. Events that impact communities for better or worse are going to have heightened emotional reactions. We may see people joining communities that are not aligned for them out of just wanting to have some sense of belonging. But there's an opportunity here as well to understand in a greater way that you living your unique design gives you your place in the totality. So it can be a really great time to foster that inner sense of belonging. The channel of community as a channel of bargains and resources is also about trade, this for that. So in the collective, trade agreements are going to be highlighted here. Business groups, communities, and countries coming together to create new agreements or breaking apart current agreements. Okay, next up we have a medium-term channel. It's going to come in January 27th at 6:46 p.m., going until February 1st at 6:21 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. UTC coming in January 28th at 1:46 a.m., going until February 2nd at 2:38 a.m. We have the channel of the prodigal, a design of the witness. That's being created by Venus moving into gate 13, followed by Mercury moving into that gate, activating this trait of the listener. It's connecting with the Earth's position, gate 33, the trait of retreat that we talked about earlier. This is part of the abstract experiential circuitry that's all about, in the end, sharing our experiences and our wisdom and lessons of experiences. It's the G center, the identity center, expressing itself through the direction of the past. It's where the memories that you have from what you've taken in, what you've heard, what you've witnessed in your life, through a process of retreat and reflection are integrated to glean those lessons, to glean that wisdom that can be articulated in a way that provides leadership, learning from the past to guide us into the future. Now, a caution here is that some of the things that you've taken in may be secrets of others. So be a bit careful here, as there can be a tendency to blurt those out under the pressure of this trait and then regret what you said. So always with these channels, we want to wait to be invited, and then it's going to come out to the right people at the right time, following our own strategy and authority. All right, next up we have a short-term channel. This one's coming in January 31st at 8:51 a.m., going until February 1st at 7:38 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. UTC is coming in January 31st at 3:51 p.m., going until February 2nd at 2:38 a.m. We have Mercury now moving into gate 49, the trait of revolution and higher principles, connecting with the sun's position, gate 19, the trait of wanting that we talked about. This creates the channel of synthesis, a design of being sensitive. It's tribal, so being sensitive, as we talked about with the 19, to the needs of others, and also can have that hypersensitivity or that insensitivity around needs. Now, gate 49 brings the potential for the awareness of what resources are really needed out of all the potential needs that the 19 can bring. So it's the pressure to establish common ground in relationships where needs and principles are aligned, or for breakdown when the alignment isn't there. There's an opportunity to bring energy to making change in the tribe, the family, the community, from an understanding of what's needed that's not being looked after currently. 849 is also this trait of revolution, and it doesn't have to be a physical revolution. It can be a conceptual revolution. The way that we're thinking about things and how we're thinking about the resources that we need and how we're thinking about how we can attain them needs to shift. It's a channel that goes from the root to the emotional center. So every time we see the emotional center involved, it's going to take patience to get that clarity. And again, we want to see, is there interdependence or is there dependency that's being formed here? Now, as the channel of synthesis, it's also where different resources or things can be brought together and synthesized, like the wheels and a big box and a horse to become the horse and buggy, or a TV screen and a typewriter and electronics to create a computer. So we can bring disparate things together into something that supports us, supports the tribe. That brings us to our long-term transits. The long-term transits are created by the outer planets and the nodes of the moon. They're with us for longer periods of time, years in some cases, and As a result, your not self mind can start to think that they're part of you, even when it's not something you have in your own design. And then when the transit moves on, that can be quite confusing to that not self mind. This cycle, we have Saturn changing gates to rejoin Neptune in gate 25, the trait of the spirit of the self, and Neptune's going to change lines. As we discussed, the nodes continue to bring the 3740 channel of community, a design of a part seeking a whole. The nodes in the transit field bring the homogenized perspective and direction that we'll see in the world. They bring amplified emotionality that can be ratcheted up when repeatedly taken advantage of or betrayed. And amplified willpower with its pressure to prove oneself and push through, or an amplification of really wanting a break from all the forcing and pushing. It will bring an amplification as well of a longing to belong in a community and to the totality. Gate 37, the trait of friendship, is in line 4 called leadership by example. In the exaltation, those that exhibit exemplary behavior and highest principles will be seen as the leaders over those who would traditionally be seen in that role. In the detriment, though, only traditional, typically patriarchal leaders are accepted, even if they're not good role models. Gate 40 brings an ego that will organize work to balance work and rest. It's all about work, rest, balance. That's something at a personal level that can really support you. At the collective level, we're more likely to see the detriment play out of those that are providing resources, putting their energy into anything that those that are stroking their ego want them to provide. This is the workaholic that ultimately ends up being less productive. Saturn starts the cycle in gate 36, crisis, with its pressure to take action on entering into a new experience. It's in line 6 called justice. However, it's in the detriment. So the theme is more likely to be injustice. However, it's not going to be there for long, as it's going to move out on January 27th at 3:43 p.m. Mountain Standard Time and back into gate 25, where it was before it retrograded. So we had it there earlier in the year. Now, gate 25 is the individual trait of the spirit of the self, of innocence, and universal love in the G center, that center associated with love, identity, and direction in life. Line 1 is called selflessness and has a developmental lifelong learning theme that says motiveless action. In the exaltation, there's no possessiveness here, simply attunement to the challenge, where the ego of the 51 that it's pointing to says, I'm the one who leaps into the void of the unknown. The 25 says, there is only the leap. In the detriment, though, that line 1 theme of insecurity creeps in with the tendency to publicize one's selflessness. And with Sirius Saturn, there could be unintended consequences to this. Saturn can also bring discipline. Here, this is an individual gate that operates in the present, so the discipline to be able to stay present. We also have Neptune in gate 25. For most of the cycle, it's going to remain in line 2, called the existentialist, with its pressure to be here now, rather than worrying about what will be or what was. Now, line 2 is a line of projection. This is a line that will have people projecting out that they are present when they might not actually be. Neptune can bring an attunement to the present with a greater depth, or it can bring a veiling of what's there in the present. It's going to move into line 3, the line of trial and error, called sensibility, on January 31st at 3:59 a.m. Mountain Time. That's pretty close to the end of the cycle, so I'll go into the details of that one next cycle. Personally, it's support to be here now and be in that space of universal love, loving all things equally. In the collective, well, we're likely to see the detriment, the lack of selflessness, and difficulty in staying present. We have Jupiter in gate 53, the collective abstract trait of beginnings, expanding the pressure to start something new. It's in the root center, and it's in line 3 called practicality. The third line always carries themes of trial and error and bonds made and broken. There's a need for harmony with this line, with those around you, in order to move through a cycle. That's the conditioning pressure this is bringing. If there's no harmony, the bond will be broken to go start something else where there might be better harmony. It's a trial and error process. You never know. You got to try it. Oh, no harmony. No, I'm out of here. On to the next thing. In the detriment, there's an unconscious provoking of conflict with others, usually because they're having difficulty dealing with that trial and error process and the making of the so-called mistakes that are part of it. We know this trial and error process is so important, but the world is not always so accepting of that. One of the things Ross said about line 3s in this trait, 853 line 3, is that they have a life strategy that when they've had enough of something, they provoke conflict, and that gives them the justification for leaving and going to start something new. So if you happen to have gate 53, line 3, let me know if that rings true for you. At the personal level, this could support finding those that you sense a harmony with to start something new. In the collective, the detriment could bring this provocation of conflict as an exit strategy. Okay, we have Uranus in gate 8, the individual trait of contribution and holding together. This is the voice of, I know I can contribute or not. It's in line 4 called respect. This is where individuals may bring their unique contributions out to the community in an influential way and be seen as a leader, even though they may not technically be the leader. We could also see individual contributions that are not out of true creativity, but instead out of the ego need to impress. Uranus can be sidetracking, so there may be contributions, things that people are speaking out about what they can contribute or not, that are actually meant to take people in the community off track. Pluto is sitting in gate 41. That was our sun's position last cycle. That collective abstract trait of contraction and decrease in the root center. This is the pressure to start a new experience, but at the very beginning stage, it's about fantasizing about all the experiences you'd like to have. Eventually, though, you have to pare back. You have to contract down to the one that you really want to have. It's in line 2 called caution, with a developmental theme that says humanism tempered by pragmatism. So Pluto's homogenizing conditioning is that it's through starting something new that you'll find your inner truth. Not if that's not your Pluto. All right, in the exaltation, this is about being practical with what you dream of experiencing. Do you really have the resources to bring it to fruition? If not, it can remain a dream and you can move on to something else. In the detriment, the ego gets involved in needing to be recognized for just having a dream for humanity, even though it's not realistic and practical to manifest. But a lot of resources can end up being invested in that dream that just ends up depleting resources with nothing in the end to show for it. Remember that the transit field brings the traits that have the potential to homogenize us to their conditioning. So it's what we see play out in the world because most people are not self, but with awareness, you can observe and learn from these frequencies. All right, that brings us to the end of the cosmic weather for this cycle. If you want to run your own chart, you can go to jovianarchive.com. If you're new to human design and you just want to understand the body graph at a higher level, what's the black and the red about, the different geometric shapes and so on, you can grab my free Human Design Basics mini course. It's at margotgfraser.com/human-design. Okay, it's always great as well. If you want to support me, give it a like, the podcast a like. And if it's correct for you, please feel free to subscribe. Okay, so watch the hypersensitivity that may be there around support or not. Make sure that any bargains you're entering into are really correct and fair, and respect your individuality. right? They don't force you to try and be something that you're not. Know that any sense of not having the resources you need and perhaps feeling down about that, it could be amplified this cycle. At the same time, there may be opportunities to create mutually supportive partnerships to gain needed resources. Watch that you're not blurting out secrets out of this pressure. And if it's correct for you, this weather could be really supportive for going into retreat and contemplation of lessons of an experience that you've been through. Okay, have a great cycle, and may you know, love, and live the magic of your true nature. Until next time, bye for now.